Alrighty, and we're on. I'm here with Brother Viknesh, and I was just asking, how do I pronounce the surname? Because my wife said it was she gave me the spelling, which was Thanislas, and I thought it was like Tanislas.
Yeah,
Right?
it is Stanislas. It's
Yeah.
more like a typical Tamil name.
Yep.
And it is, in English, they call Stanislas sometime.
Okay.
Saint Stanislas.
Yep.
But when we say it in Tamil, Tamil is my native language, by the way, my mother tongue.
Yep.
So we say Stanislas. That's literally Tamil.
Yep.
But as you say, as I said, we don't have a surname at all. Because in our Tamil culture, we don't have a surname.
Okay.
It's very different. I had a difficulty when I was applying for my passport.
Yep.
They asked me, "Oh, what's your surname?" And I said, "I don't have a surname." Then I said, "Okay, what they usually do, since they know that most of the foreign countries they require surname,
Yep.
they usually write our father's name as
Wow.
a surname. So Tanislas is my
Okay.
father's name. So that's the reason sometimes I feel so weird when people call me here by Stanislas. I say, that's
That's
my
not- it's not
father's
your father's
name.
name, yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's more likely I never call my father as Stanislas.
Yeah,
Like
okay. Yeah,
you
you
don't
run by-
name
yep.
him, right?
Yep.
So when someone say that name, I feel like really, oh, don't say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So from that perspective, right, from a family perspective, you all just have your first names. There's no family name.
No. Like some part of my state, I'm from Tamil Nadu. Some part of my states, they do have surname because they were they some of the areas district we call here. I don't know either suburb or something. In those days, they had a colonial the people from abroad, like either French people or Dutch people or even British people came there. They had a kind of a married between Indians. So those people still have surnames, like example Fernandos or something like that, French or Portuguese name.
Yep.
Whereas my area where I'm living, we never had a surname at all.
Yep.
Yeah. Whereas you may know that some Kerala people, they have a surname, which is their surname is commonly the place where they live.
Yep.
Sometimes they name someone is living on the top of the mountain.
Yep.
Someone is living inside the forest. So that's become their
surname.
surname. But when you pronounce it, sounds very funny.
Yep.
Like for an example, one of my friends' surname is Anguda Vilaku, something like that, or Kuttanda Chiruvitil, which means a small house inside a forest.
Oh, wow.
So that is a surname. But you think that surname may be some person's name, but it's literally
That's what
a
it
different.
means.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so that would explain why some of the surnames are really, really long.
Long, yeah.
Because it might be a descriptor to say, you're in the house, in the forest, on the mountain.
Sure. So you have to say that.
Yeah.
And we have a funny stories in our brothers as missionaries of God's love brothers. We have some Sri Lankan brothers.
Yeah.
And if you heard the surname, if you ask them for the surname, right, they usually carry all their ancestors' name as a surname.
Wow.
So we have a task in our first year
Yep.
to memorize all their surname. And we have a brother who has the 7 surnames. His name is Paliga Vadana Arachiga Puttiga Priyasanda Pereira Jayavartana.
Wow.
So that's his whole name, and you
Yep.
have to memorize. So it's fun. Yeah.
So that'd be 7 generations worth.
7 generation name, and it ends with his father's name usually. Yeah.
I actually find that there's something very romantic in that. When I don't mean that in the man and a woman's love. I mean that in the sense that to actually go back 7 generations and to have some memory of that. If I was to try and think back 7 generations in my family, I couldn't tell you. I can hardly get past my mum and my dad's life from that perspective. I don't really know much about my grandparents. I know obviously where my parents grew up, but I don't have that sort of I don't have any stories, and B, I don't have that sort of recollection, right? But I think there's something that's really fascinating, when you go back through ancestry to realize not only how different lives were, but also how interconnected lives are, right? Like, because I think, so Angela, my wife, who and I got to bring this story up because, and I'm going to digress for 1 second. We'll come back to what I'm actually going to say. But it was funny because she mentioned that when you guys met, you made this comment that you asked her, are you Malaysian, right? Because you said that Indians, we do the head bobble, right? But Malaysians do it with the whole body.
Yeah.
Right? And my wife came home that evening and she said to me, do I move when I talk? And then I had to think about it for a second. I said, you know what? It's when you say hello, you be like hi, and you'll like rock with your hand, right? And that's probably what you picked up on, right?
Yeah. Like I was really thinking, like, because whenever we meet some new people here in Australia, like we usually go for different families for a dinner or for a catch up and everything. The first thing they ask, "Oh, where you're from?" And I say from India. Then they say hi, something like that. Because I was asking why, because they said, oh, most of the Indians when they speak, they usually do the head shake, it's kind of head shake, and they say it's no or something like that.
Yeah, is it yes or is it no?
Yeah,
We don't really know.
So I said, like, when she was doing that, first of all, I was thinking that she mocking at me. Then I thought, okay, let me ask her. Okay, where you're from? Are you from Malaysia or something? Then when she said that, okay, then I realized, okay, I know that some of the Malaysians, they usually do that kind of head shake and the whole body movement. And yeah, it was funny. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so I did want to go on that tangent just to bring up that story because I thought it was a funny story when she came and told me about it. But yeah, like as I was saying, I think there's something very attractive about knowing that sort of history, right? And one of the things that I've been thinking about lately is just how human nature, it's quite repetitive. Mm-hmm. I think when we go back and we look at things that have happened historically, we can see things happening, and they happen, irrespective of now we've got all these technological, revolutions and all these different technologies and things like that maybe accelerate, how we go down those pathways. But I think the thing about human nature is that typically when humans want to do something, originally it's for survival, right? So why did we become social animals? Well, we found that as a social unit, we were stronger and we could have a better chance of survival. And communication allowed us to obviously hunt and gather food and organize some structure. And obviously that allowed the human civilization to grow. But I think about it from, from a work perspective. So like businesses, when somebody starts a business, they don't start a business for it to just survive. They start a business that they want to grow. And then at the end of that, if they've got a good business, perhaps their retirement package is to then sell that business, right? But ultimately, if they're not trying to grow the business, if you're just stagnant, then all that leads in the end is that you sort of fade away and it just disappears. It ceases to exist, right? And I think, that's part of the reason why I think, when it comes to religion, people can get very passionate about it, because it's the same thing that if we don't grow and nurture faith and religion, right, then and you don't have people join you on this journey to believe and have faith and have hope, that over time there'll be no one left to believe, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I sort of think that that's a very It's a very human thing, because I don't see animals thinking about trying to, how do we get a bigger herd or a bigger flock. It's just it's more cause and effect. Like we eat, if there's more to eat, we can grow more. If there's less to eat, we have less animals.
Yeah.
Right. But I think it's a very human thing to be thinking about these kinds of problems. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry to take it so deep straight away.
No worries, no worries. Yeah. I understand that one. Yeah, because when you are sharing that one, right? How it is important to know our roots, where we are coming from, either in our faith perspective or not. It is, I don't know whether it is a coincidence or not. I was just writing my assignment today. It's for my pastoral studies. So during these 6 months in my time with St. Declan's Paris, I'm also doing a subject called pastoral studies in a practical context. So where I have to write some kind of a pastoral thing, what is happening inside the church and how I'm experiencing that one. So I was writing in the paper, like first time after the lockdown, right? We were receiving mass and everything. So I was so excited to go and visit the people. So I had a chance to go to the Peakers Church, which is our neighboring church. I went to the church and I look at the pews, all the peoples, and they're all, I don't say, it may be rude to say they are all gray hair, but they are kind of old people. Older people are there. And I look at another person who will stand near to me. Wow, I don't know how many people will be here for after 20 years. Why? Yeah. Because why I said that is I'm from that kind of a place where I'm from. My village, we have 11,000 Catholics. And if I go to my neighbor village, all are Catholics. Okay. And the whole coastal line, we are all Catholics. And I grew up like that with that kind of a people. And I still remember, like today when I was writing on faith in families, I was just remember how my grandmother usually take me to the church when I was like very young. Like she usually take me to everyday mass, and she makes sure that I go and sit in front near to the altar. She always say to me that, when you are grown up, you are going to become a priest. So I didn't feel that is a kind of a pressure. I felt that that is the seed she kind of put in my heart. And all my culture, my families, my friend, all my friends, they helped me to nurture that seed. So today I was reflecting, when I was typing that paper, I was reflecting that I'm here because of because of them. Sometimes some people here in a Western context, I had a chat with other people. They were kind of criticizing me, saying that, oh, you are here because of your parents, or you're become a priest because of your mom said, our family said. I said, no, I'm not saying like that. I'm here because on that time they put a seed. If they didn't give that faith to me, after 18 or after going to uni, I may have tripped away. I may not have gone a different path. But I'm here because of them. So I said to them that I'm very grateful because of them. So in a kind of as a seminarian or as a person who training for a priesthood, when I came to Australia, I felt really bad by seeing this kind of Australian church, how people are struggling to come to the church. Like my worst thing always I share with the people that my first time in my life, I felt so bad inside a church. That is 25th night Christmas Mass in Canberra, where we had only like 15 or 20 people, including 10 seminarians and 5 people for the vigil Christmas Mass. That's my first time in my life, a Christmas Mass like that. Like, because for us, Christmas is like kind of a celebration party. It's a whole village party, something like that. Like whole village come to that particular vigil Mass, and the Mass goes about 2 hours, and you celebrate. And that day night, I felt like so bad. And I was feeling that, am I in a right place? Whereas
the energy is not the same.
Right? I felt it is like normal ordinary Mass. It was so sad. So I was when you were saying that, okay, how grateful we are for our ancestors, I was just reflecting back, like my faith is the gift of my ancestor. I would say.
Wow. Okay, well let's actually talk about that. So you grew up in this village. I struggle with pronunciation, but it's Muttom.
It's Muttom.
Muttom. And so I did look it up. So it's basically on the southern end of India. And it's a coastal town. Right. And you were mentioning it's a fishing village, right? So with 11,000. So was the total population 11,000, or how many people in total in the village?
It's total population is 11, around 11,000. And
so everybody in the village is Catholic.
All are Catholics.
All
are Catholics.
And do you know was there a story behind that? Because I'm guessing like typically the predominant faith in India would be Hinduism.
Right? So I didn't do much research when I was in a uni or not. So what we were told is Christianity came to India, especially near to the Kerala, where they have a port and everything, 2,000 years before by St. Thomas the Apostle. But still people are like digging the history of how did he come, how did he travel that much far back, nobody know which route and everything. But we have evidence that during like 17th century or 18th century, St. Francis came to our place. Through that, by that time, India was colonized by Dutch people. In 15th century, then French people came, then this Portuguese people came, and then Spanish. So most of the people came to India. So during that time, Jesuit missionaries came, and they were trying to bring Christianity in our own way. Like they were trying to inculturate Christianity to us. So practically, they were just roaming around the coastal area, since it's very easy for them to go inside, go to the coastal area. Those days, if they go inland, they have to fight with big kings. Because in my place, in Tamil Nadu, those days we had 3 big kingdom. Those were very much core. It was not a Hinduism, as we say, because Hinduism, I would say, it's not a particular one religion. It's a combination of different different beliefs and even I would say in a political way, it's more like a Brahmin gave that kind of name because they want to keep that one.
Yep.
But in Tamil Nadu, we are not that much kind of hardcore Hindu people. We respect nature very much, and for us as Tamil people, language and our culture is very much important. So what this Jesuit did, we have one Jesuit priest. He literally studied our language, and he wrote a first Tamil dictionary for us.
Okay.
So that much they did. So they inculcate our language.
Yep.
So they gave a faith to us, and somehow like coastal people, they love that faith. Why? Because I would say, from my experience with my village, we always fight with sea, and we don't have any GPS, and
Yep.
we go inside the sea, and the only hope is God. So we believe that when we go inside the sea at evening 6 o'clock,
Yep.
we are going to inside the sea about, let's say, 10 to 12 hours, and we come back next morning 6 o'clock. Still that in the darkness, we need to have something to hold on. And when these missionaries, they gave the faith, we thought that okay, we trust in God and we believe in God. And I remember, like, whenever we go inside, we all have a church on the just in front of the sea. You just take a moment to pause and make a sign of the cross.
Yeah.
And inside our house, we do all the rosaries and novena. So that was all about our faith. We go inside, we trust in God. So that faith help Christianity to grow
Really
faster
thrive. Yeah.
in the coastal
Yep.
area, I would say. So that's the reason we have heaps of Catholics
Yeah.
there.
It makes
Yeah.
sense. You're at the mercy when you're at the mercy of the ocean.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's not a lot. You know, especially if you're on fishing boats, they're not big boats.
No,
Right.
that's like some of the boats up to 10 people can travel. That's like a everyday boats.
Yep.
And some other boats can take more than 20 to 25 people, but it's like a 15 days boats. You have to be inside the sea for 15 days. And if something happened, like, we had a cyclones and everything, when we lost heaps of people during that time.
Yep.
And it's a risk life. Like, you
Yeah,
don't know
high
what
risk.
will happen inside. It's not like inland, right? Something happen, you can call someone to help, or disaster people, or someone will come and help. Or inside the sea, there's no communication, and no cell phone, no tower and everything. So it's a risk life, but always the faith help us to continue our daily life there. Yeah, so that's the reason why we have heaps of Catholic population around that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's. I guess what I want to try and understand from you is what was life for you like growing up? So I know you mentioned obviously your grandmother used to take you to church and help to plant that seed of faith, right? But like, how would you, do you remember much about, where you lived, what the village looked like? Can you describe some of those things?
Most of my memories are from year one, because I just and think about what was my life look like, because I listen to most of my stories about me, sometimes what happened to me. The one story they say is, I'm the kind of a youngest son in my family.
Youngest son,
So before me, my parents have 3 children, and the second one died. Second one is a boy, and he died.
Yep.
And
Do you know how?
I don't know whether he had a sickness or not, because those days we don't go to hospital at all. It's more like that all the deliveries happen inside the village itself. So some of the old grandmas will take care of, and maybe they might have some infection. And
Okay, so died as a baby.
like maybe 3 months old,
Yep.
something like that.
Yep.
So my father loved him, like my father, loved him very much. And so when I born, I did had some kind of what is the English word I'm looking here? The Caesar, something, not like, you feel your eyes will go inside, and you feel that kind of the whole body shaking, and you get some foam, something in the mouth. It's not kind of I don't say it's
Seizure?
Yeah, Caesar. So I usually have Caesar when I was young. So the funny story, they say that every night, now and then, they usually took me to the hospital. They hire a taxi. They have to run for that one. So I was a kind of a troublesome child. So what my aunties usually say, they all love me very much. Because they had much time to spend with me. They took care of me, because they were thinking that I may eventually die. That was the story. And they said, and they also say that because we never had a habit of taking photos when we were kids, right? So I never saw my childhood photo or how I was look like a baby. Never. But they said that, oh, you are so chubby. You are like, you're not as skinny like now. You are so chubby. We always like you very much. You are so fair in color. Now you are black. That's the way my aunties they usually tease me. And but so that my whole life is inside the village. So I still remember most of the events happened in my school days, like primary school days, because we do have a primary school inside of a village, which is from year 1 to 5.
Year 1 to 5.
And it's run by our parish council or parish community, like St. Eccle's Primary School here. And we do have another, we call higher secondary school, which is from year 6 to 12 in our village. It's run by Montfort brothers. So whole my school life is inside my village itself. So I never had a chance to travel anywhere at all. And I still remember, like in year 1, the teachers will ask you, what do you want to become, or what is your goal in your life? So I said to my teacher, I want to become a priest.
Wow.
And they were super encouraging, because to say that, they all liked that, maybe because they have seen the service of the nuns and religious or priests, how the way they serve other people. So they always, the whole culture or anyone, they will encourage you if they know that you're studying for you're thinking to become a priest. So my teacher is so encouraging. I still remember her face, but I don't remember her name. And with that, they will love you much. So even though if you are naughty in the school, right, they don't punish you. So like the hardest part in the primary school is handwriting. Right. They give the homework, so you have to do the homework. Even though sometimes I don't do homework, and I have these kind of excuses, and they say, oh, he's studying for a priesthood. He's a nice guy. So we just leave like that.
Leave you alone.
So, so I had that kind of freedom in that area. So I was a bit naughty too. I was a kind of aggressive guy. Sometimes I remember when I was in year 2, I broke my friend's head, because we had a running competition. So we both were running. So the game is like, we have to run to let's say 50 or 100 meter, touch a place and come back to touch another place. So we were running. So I was, when the race start, I was leading. But when we came back, he just overtook me and touched the fence. And I was like so angry, and I hold his head and just bang, and he was bleeding. I thought, oh no, trouble, because what will happen next day? He will bring his mom, and I'm going to get some trouble and everything.
He just smacked his head into what? Into the wall or into the ground? Or?
And it was a kind of a fence which have a sharp edge, right? I was like bang, and still now he has that scar. So he's a very good friend of mine. Whenever I look at him, I say,
I'm sorry.
Do you remember? Like I just tease him. Do you remember? And he said, I remember, brother. I remember. So yeah, those kind of funny stories happen in my primary school days. But it's always like so much fun. And one thing in our school is it's a kind of a government school. So they provide a free food and free education, free food and everything. So the most of the good stuff we love in our village is like in the school days is lunchtime. We all love lunchtime, especially every day they give a different food. On a particular day, I think Wednesday or Thursday, they give egg. So we all love egg very much. So I usually go and sit near to a person. We know that we can easily cheat that person well. We just go and sit nicely. We eat our egg within just one shot and just wait for the right moment and take the another egg and eat that one. So those are the school days moments. And since, as I said, since all the teachers love me very much.
You get away with it all.
They complain at all. So I had a good primary school experience. Family is like, in the family, they don't much worry about what you are doing in the school, how your school life is going. They never ask that questions, because maybe I'm thinking now the culture is more like, they go with a kind of a flow. Okay, this is what our life, this is what our daily life look like. Father goes fishing for 6 days. Sunday he just take a rest and go to a place where all the men together just play cards and something like that. Mothers always cook and take care of the family matter, all the admin stuff. And kids, we have a place to play. Because those days we don't have a TV, mobile phone, nice time.
So what did your parents do for work?
Oh, my father is a fisherman.
So so most of the people in the village are all fishermen.
All the men are fishermen.
Okay.
And
But then are you fishing just to feed your family, or are you fishing to sell?
It's more like our occupation actually. Like those days, this is before tsunami, before 2004, right?
Yep.
We get heaps of fish. Like even in our area, fishermen are the richest people.
Yeah.
But they don't have a money management at all.
Yeah.
We get heaps of money every day. So because you work hard, you get heaps of money, and you spend a lot. Like we live a kind of a very lavish life.
Yeah. So
Especially
you're selling. Okay. Yeah. It makes more sense, right? Like if you're on the coastal town, you fish. You're probably selling some of that fish to go inland, right?
Yeah,
To the markets and things like that. So you eat what you need, and then you sell the rest.
Yeah. We take only one or two fish.
Yep.
And we sell it, like we have a people who come and take the fish.
Yep. And transport it.
And transport. Not more transport, like that. They take it to the local markets, and they sell it that one.
Yeah.
And the funny way we do it, not like here, we don't have a shops or anything. You take fish from the boat, put on the seashore, and some people will come and rate it. Someone will say, okay, I will take it for $20. And someone say, no, 25. Like that, you rate the fish and they will take it.
Yep.
But these people, those who are taking the fish from us, they go to the market, but they sell like 1 kilo fish, 2 kilo fish, like that one.
Yep.
So for us, it's all about, we caught some fish, we want to sell it. Just take that one.
Yep.
But the way we separate, the way we get money is we all have equal share.
Yep.
So
So if there's 6 fishermen that go out, they all get the equal share.
So at the
in what
weekend, we usually calculate how much money we got for the whole week, and we if only one person may be a boat owner, because we don't want to all have a boats and without any helpers, right? So one person may be a boat owner. So we separated some money for the boat and the net and the fuel and everything, and rest of the money we equally share. So that is our more kind of our income for our life. Yeah.
Okay. And so then when you moved in, so you did primary school there and then high school there as well?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we call higher secondary
school.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
So now, like this is just a high school. Like both schools are just 10 meters away.
Okay, so very close by.
Yeah, but
and out of curiosity, how many students are in the school?
Like we have more than at least 800 to 900 that time.
Yeah, wow.
Because those times you have only Tamil medium school. Tamil medium is more like a government school. So our first language is Tamil.
Yep.
We had English as a second language, which we all hate like anything because it's hard to
you don't really
learn
speak
and
much
everything.
there,
We don't speak much and we don't use that language at all for our day-to-day life, and we hate our English teacher. I don't know why. And but we are still love to watch all the Hollywood movies in Tamil because you have the dubbing movies and everything.
Yep.
So, but moving from primary school to high school, it's a kind of a promotion to you. So we had all the excitement, and you are going to meet same, like all your friends also going to study in the same school.
Yep.
Unless they are rich enough, they may go
somewhere else.
Outside, and going outside is hard because you have to catch the bus and you have to travel and you have to carry your lunchbox, all this thing coming. So we were very happy to move, and it was so a promotion to us. Why it is a promotion? Because from year 1 to year 5, you have to wear a short.
You have to be what, sorry?
You have to wear the
Shorts. Okay.
Shorts.
Yep.
But from year 6 onwards, you can wear a pants.
Okay.
So when you wear a pants, you feel like you are a kind of a man. Okay, now I'm a grown up man. I'm no more a little boy. So I was so excited about that one. So it was a kind of a very exciting time to me.
Yep.
And another important thing is in year 6 in that particular school, they will separate you using your marks or grade from the previous year. So like we have 3 sections, A, B, C. A section is the people, those who have a highest mark.
Yep.
And B, C, like that one.
Obviously.
So I was in A section. So you feel that you're a you're a kind of top students and you can do whatever you want. So I felt like so happy and felt very proud during that time. But as I said, always the first thing they ask, what is your goal or what you are going to become? Then they all know me, since most of my teachers are from the same village. They always see me that I'm in the church. I'm as a kind of a
Yeah.
altar boy and doing my
Yeah.
service and everything. So since they all know that,
Yep.
I was enjoying that
Yep.
freedom in that school too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, to have that kind of a goal in year one, and to have that be like something that's consistent throughout your life from then until now is, I'd say that's amazing, right? Like,
Yeah.
has there been any times where you've questioned that choice?
Not until doing my philosophy,
Okay.
because till year 12, like when I was in year 6, I was really wanted to actively participate in as an altar boy. But we have a custom that you can become altar boy only after receiving first Holy Communion. And in our diocese, we have rules that we can receive only Holy Communion when we are in year 7. So I was really wanted to receive Holy Communion, and it takes 1 year of preparation, and we have to go every evening after school to the preparation class, because we take it very seriously, and you do have an exam.
Yep.
And if you fail the exam, that's all done. And I know
you can take it again, can't you?
Next, you have to wait for next year. For me, is I want to become altar boy.
Yeah.
Why I want to become altar boy? Because I know that most of the people, those who want to become a priest, they become an altar boy, and from there they go to the seminary, because you always be with a priest or a nun or someone, so you always look at them and learn them, because most of our parish priests are for us a hero, because they do all the most of the charity work, all the parish work, all the admin work. And my village is known for fight, and they stand in front, like whenever the fight happen, they stand in the middle of the fight and nobody will touch him. So he's kind of such a
what do you mean? So what kind of fights?
We fishermen is known for our short temper.
Okay.
We fight without any reason.
Okay.
And after that we ask, why did we fight? Like in one case, 2 fishermen were drinking in a bar, in our local bar.
Yep.
And after drinking, they both were drunk, and they had a kind of a rough conversation.
Yep.
And they both friends came to fight, and they were from the different street, and both streets started to fight.
Okay.
And it's become a kind of a street fight in the village.
Yep.
So when they fight, they use the weapon in the sense, literally they use the metal sword or whatever they can get.
Yeah.
And all usually learn also our local martial arts, our local cultural arts.
Yep.
So they are very, very good with fighting. They
what's the local martial art?
We call Varma.
Varma.
Yeah. Varma is I don't know whether it's more like a kung fu or something, but we know what are the important joints.
Yeah.
The Varma is more like our tradition says that is our ancestor gave that martial arts to heal.
Yeah.
But you can use us to either to heal or kill someone.
Yep.
So we all, like most of our old people, they all learn us to defense or use during the village fight. So they all use those things. And
but who's teaching it?
The people, like most of the elder people, they teach the younger generation. Is this all happening during the either Sunday or most of the weekends when they go for repair the nets and everything?
Yep.
That's the time they practice all these thing. And we do have kind of a small gangs in this, not a fighting gangs. Each street have their own group.
Yep.
So they all practice together those kind of Varma.
Yep.
And we do have most of the Ayurvedic kind of village a doctor kind of a person, doctor in the sense like the old person who get all the Ayurvedic medicines, and he does all the massage when we have some kind of injury during the sports. So we learn from them by saying that my great father is one of those kind of guy.
Yep.
So he learned from his grandfather. So he's known in our area, and they call him. I don't know his name at all, because he has a nickname which is in English called dry ginger guy.
Dry ginger guy.
Yeah. Why? Because he has 3 medicine,
Yep.
which includes dry ginger.
Okay.
And he used those three ingredients for all the diseases. So whoever goes him, he do if you have some heart issue or some sugar or anything, he just use those 3 ingredients to make a medicine,
Yep.
and many people heal. So he's known as a
The ginger guy.
Ginger guy.
Yeah.
So I know I don't know my great grandfather name at all, but my father usually share the stories because my father learned some of the kind of a martial arts and all those medicine trick from his grandfather.
Yeah.
And he never taught to me at all because why? Because he doesn't want to me to go into that area because he knows that I'm studying for priesthood, and so if I learn all the martial arts or those things,
you want to fight.
I may fight, or that maybe may change my mind. So I never had a chance to learn at all. So that's the other thing I like. I always wanted to learn this kind of thing. So whenever I watch some movies, especially I watch most of the Japanese, Chinese kung fu movie. I love Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee very much. So I like to practice in my house. And I remember one day my father saw that one, and he came and said to me, okay, now you want to try something I want to show, and you have to try. And he sit on the floor with I was sitting on the floor with 2 feet, and he put his hand in front of him, and he said, without lifting your without lifting your foot, you have to touch your finger with the nose. Try that. So it was a fun thing. I don't know why he asked me to do, whether it may be
So you put your hand out.
Yeah, so I put my hand like this.
Yeah.
And now my feet are like this one.
Yeah.
So it has a kind of my hand should be in a kind of at least 2 to 3 feet front. So I have to touch my nose, like I have to lean front.
Yep.
And I have to touch the finger using my nose without lifting my
feet off the ground.
Feet up. Yeah. So when I was doing, still I remember that you feel kind of a kind of a pressure on your back, and you have to stretch in a way. And it was a kind of a hard for me. I was struggling, and my father was watching. Then I said, "Okay, come, I will show." And for him, it was so flexible. So I realized that maybe since he does those kind of arts, that maybe kind of warm up for them. Yeah, he usually do those kind of things.
So what do you? So you try and lean forward to touch your nose.
Yeah.
But why don't you just move your hand to your nose?
No, it's on the your hand is also on the floor.
Oh, your hand's on the floor.
Floor too, yeah. So your hand's on the floor. Like imagine this one. This is my hand. And this I'm like this. So my hand's on the floor. My feet's on the floor. Okay. I'm stable. Now I'm trying to touch
your nose to your. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That would be a lot harder. Like I can touch the floor with my knee straight. But, But then to try and touch my nose, like, I don't even think I can reach like that.
Okay. Yeah, but I didn't understand why, what it mean, and but what my cousin said that most of my cousins are fishermen. They didn't, they don't like to go to school or college and anything. They said they always asked my father to teach them, but he never taught them anything. And one of my cousins said that you have to see how your father fight during the village fights and all, right? You have to say he's all over. He just punch everyone or kick everyone. I was like, no, I don't want to see that. Yeah. So they are known for that kind of thing. Yeah.
So you never got to see your father fight?
No, like those days we had 3 or 4 major fights. Yeah. I still remember I was like super scary because, as I said, they use the weapon. Yeah. And most of the fights usually happen in the middle of the night when no one knows. All of a sudden you hear the
banging and
the banging noise. Especially homemade bombs sound. Yeah, they use the homemade bombs.
People would die, right?
The bomb they make the bomb with kind of explosive material, and with some broken glasses, or all the things which can pierce your skin. Only one person died in that time. I remember, like most, but many injured, and many lost their eyes and hand and everything. And those are the kind of other side of my village, and it was in our Indian newspaper even, and all over. And that was another thing. Most of my neighbor village people, they still afraid of our village people, because when we have fight with other village, we all come together. And since we are in a large number in my diocese, they all afraid of that one. So during that fight, if the priest stand, no one will touch you, because they all afraid that if I touch a priest, God will curse the whole generation. Not only me, not only my family, it will curse my whole generation. So the priest is a kind of a hero and a peacemaker. So I was whenever I look at a priest, I say, okay, I want to become those kind of a guy.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any
I think
kind
it's
of,
important. Otherwise, everybody would just kill themselves. Like they're killing each other, basically.
Oh, very much. That's what like I always say. They are the super faithful, great, lovely people. But when they get angry, you have to see that the monster will come out. And but if they love you, like, right, they will take care of you like anything. Imagine the another important thing for our culture, even the hospitality. Like whoever, maybe if they go to the house in the middle of the night, they will take care of you like anything. So they do love very much, but they do have this kind of anger. I don't know, like we never had a chance to process that, or we don't have a place like here to talk about that. Now I am reflecting back with this formation which I received in a seminary, because in the seminary you have to undergo those kind of formation. You happen to evaluate yourself, and we do have all the psychological counseling session with our priest or someone outside. So when I went through those kind of formation, only I realized, oh wow, how much my culture influenced me. And when I talk to my friends, still now they have this kind of mentality, and I was thinking, oh wow, how.
But you can't see it when you're in it, right?
Oh no!
Like I think it's one of those things when you're actually going through those situations, you're not thinking rationally. No. First of all, but you can't take that step back to look at yourself and go, hey, what I'm doing here is actually not rational, right? It's the conflict between the logical mind and the emotional mind, and once people get heated, the rationality goes out the window. Yeah. And sometimes I can give you an example of that. Like there's been times in negotiation, when I'm in the automotive industry, right? So, when it comes to somebody buying a car, and if somebody gets emotional about it, then the chances of getting something, a deal done, actually starts to diminish, right? So I always say that there's two forms, and I think when people research this, there's two forms of negotiation. There's collaborative, where you and I are working to try and find a mutually beneficial outcome. And then there's obviously, combative negotiation, where it's a win and a lose. So a party has to win and a party has to lose, right? And I think a lot of the times, when people get carried away with the win-loss, it becomes more about ego, right? So I need to get this win. I need to have something to win, where it could already be the best deal in the world. But because of ego, we refuse to accept it. Yeah. Right? And so, once you get caught in that mindset, like it happens a lot. Like I can give you an example in terms of, if I have a customer that's had a bad experience or whatever, and by the time it gets to me, it means that it's already been escalated, right? And so the first thing that I usually cop is probably some abuse. That, hey, I'm not happy about this, and this, and your team didn't do this, and blah blah blah. And I take that step back and I listen, right? And a lot of the times, I might get a message, I'll call this guy, he's very angry, right? Or something like that. And so generally the way that I like to approach those things is to actually not ask questions first of all, like in terms of finding out, okay, I'm going to go to my team member and say, oh, what happened in this situation, or what happened in that situation? Or I might have somebody come and tell me, oh, I fucked this up, right? And, now I've got this really unhappy person. I'll be like, okay, well, let me just call them first and let's find out exactly what's wrong from their perspective. Because it doesn't matter what we see from our perspective. They have their perspective as well. Yeah. Right? And so what I need to do, first of all, is just understand what is their perspective. Yeah. Right? And take, to get back to some form of rationality, I need to reduce the emotional factor. Right? So, I think, a lot of those things when we're in the heat of the moment, and most people get caught up in this because it's human nature. Yeah. Right? We don't take that step back, and we don't process it from somebody else's perspective. And I think, one of the things that I really think about is, when I look at people that say haven't gone down the right path in life, right? So if we just say, somebody who's gone down a negative path, or what we would say would be a negative path in life, that isn't like one decision that's led to that. That is a combination of a whole bunch of different decisions. Sure. Right? Sure. Does that make them any less human? No. Right? Because they're still human. Yeah, very much. Yeah. They're still human. There's still some humanity in them. Right? It might be pushed aside or pushed, repressed, or very, 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 hidden away. But there is some humanity in there. And the more that, and this is the part that I think is really important, is that the more that we start to separate people by using and it's a double-edged sword, right? So I don't say this to say that there shouldn't be any labels or anything like that. I think that's not the right approach either. You need to have structure so that you can actually have communication.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? So if I can't label a chair, right? I can't now describe what a chair is, and therefore, if I need to ask you, Viknesh, to create me a chair, and I say, "Can you build me a chair?" and you're like, "Well, what's a chair?"
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So to have no labels is counterproductive to the situation as well. But once we've established, okay, well, this is what a chair is, right? Then we need to actually, not get caught up in the fact that we need to have these kinds of chairs and those kinds of chairs. We need to understand what is the fundamental role that a chair provides for us to be able to sit.
Yeah.
Right. So fundamentally, what is there in humans that allows us to survive? It's our ability to work together.
Very much. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there comes a point where having too much nuance, in those details, and then we're looking for an excuse, whether it's one street versus the other street.
Yeah.
Right. We're all from the same village.
Yeah.
We can all get together to fight the other village.
Yeah.
But we can also fight with each other.
Yeah.
And we can fight with, whether it's brother and sister or friends.
Yeah.
Because we might be fighting over fish. We
Yeah.
might be fighting over that the money wasn't split right.
Yeah.
We might have just had too much to drink. Right? There's all these sorts of things that we straight away take aside when we need to step back. And I think, that's one of the things through experience, like as you, and I'm curious, when you were going through these formation processes, that's obviously given you different lenses to look back at, what was going on in those situations, right? Was there any specific techniques that they sort of went through? Like, was there anything that really, when they spoke to you about that you suddenly thought, wow, that's, an epiphany or something like that?
Yeah, like I remember, like I didn't have much, much kind of a very detailed psychological treatment or something in Formation India. Like I would say here, after year 2, I joined a seminary in India. So I was in the seminary for 5 years in India before I joined with MGL. So most of my Indian formations are with, like I did my 3 years in bachelor degree in Max and 2 years in master degrees in philosophy. So most of the time when we do philosophy, particularly philosophy, we have a paper to do with counseling. And the other part, we do have a retreat time where you go through most of your emotions. So I always said to them, I'm a very short-tempered person. Why was at one point during my uni time, I was thinking that I don't get angry very often. Even though if you are going to hit me, you're abusing me or something, I always have this smiling face. Like I smile, I laugh like anything. I do that one. But at one point, when I went to a holiday to my home, I had a kind of fight with my father. He was shouting and shouting and shouting, and since he was keep on doing what I don't like, I was asking him to stop, but he was keep on doing. I remember that time, like I don't know, after a long time, I got that kind of angry, and that was 4 plastic chairs were stacked together, and I hit the chairs with my hand. Like those time I was so skinny, I maybe 50 kg or less than 58 kg something. I banged, like I just strike that chair, and the chair's so like broken and hit like that. And that point I realized that like, oh wow, where that comes from. So from that day onwards, whenever I have a chance to have a retreat or go for my confession time, I said to them, oh, this is what I am going through, so what I have to do. And like I still remember one priest said to me very clearly, just talk to Jesus. Like when you have a conversation, just say to him, he would understand. Like he would understand. Okay, I'm getting angry. Why this happening? And so it's helped me to go back and search for my roots for that angry and why it happened. So that is the time only I recognize that okay, my village has this kind of a history of fighting, and even though in the fighting, why they fight, because they are kind of a rough people, and they're fighting with the sea every day, and that is kind of a more natural to them to shout at someone, or like they usually most of people, they use the loud voice, like because in the sea.
You can't hear.
In this you
The
have
ocean,
to
you-
do that, right?
yeah.
But if a third person outside from a village, like a farmer, come to my village, they think that we are so rude.
They're angry,
Because we
shouting at them all the time.
shouting at even when we say hi like that,
Yeah.
and it's like they feel so rude. But for us, it's so
It's
easy.
normal.
Yeah, maybe because of that, when I joined the seminary, I'm become more kind of a soft, that
Soft-spoken.
kind of person. But still inside, I was carrying that root, right?
Yeah.
That's why I was very much worrying about that. But when I realized that, okay, this is not a issue. This is not a problem. This is what our people were going through. But for them, it's a normal. Like they don't think that it's a problem at all. So that's helped me to understand who I am. So when I realized that it's not a issue at all, like getting that the short term thinking it is not an issue, then I realized that, okay, it is normal. So next time when I have those triggers, I know that, because I don't get, as I said, if someone do the thing keep on like third time, fourth time, even fifth time only, that will come up like that. So whenever that kind of trigger happen, I usually try to avoid those triggers.
Yep.
And maybe sports help me a lot.
Yep.
Like
Getting out those angers and
like
those frustrations.
in the soccer ground, and I love volleyball like anything. So during the volleyball game, if I get angry, I'll show it on the ball. Like I know that I give the best strike with that keeps up energy. So sports help me to also take out. And always jokes with fellow seminarians, and just talk about some kind of funny things happen in uni, or tease about the formators, how they were doing, how they were nasty to the seminarians. So all those things help me to process that anger.
For me, I found martial arts was obviously the biggest outlet for me. When you were talking about fighting, like I actually just had this memory about me fighting with my older brother, and Donnie, I apologize. I don't even know why we were fighting this particular time, but I remember that it escalated really quickly. Like it was a dirty fight. When I say dirty, like he's 7 years older than me, but like we're spitting at each other.
Oh wow!
And then I remember how the fight ended, because he went to his room and went to slam the door, and I kicked a hole in his door, because I went to kick the door open, and then he's closing the door and just put the hole in the door.
Wow.
And then I actually then burst into tears, because I realized that we're going to get the shit smacked out of us by our parents, because I just kicked a hole in the door.
Yeah.
And that was the end of the fight. But I don't even remember what we were fighting about, right? But it's just like, as siblings, obviously we got in each other's nerves or something, or I don't know, we were fighting over the TV or whatever. But when I started, channeling a lot of that energy into martial arts, like you don't really feel like fighting anymore. Like, there's no point fighting outside when you can just go to training and get the shit kicked out of you there. There was no benefit to fighting outside. And I think that's one of the things that I think is really important about martial arts. And, my wife and I, my two kids at the moment, the two older ones are fighting a lot. But then when they fight, they'll say that they're practicing, martial arts.
Martial art, right.
Yeah. And my wife, Ange, gets very upset about it, because she's like, no more practicing, right? Because they'll, like, for them, they're fine. Like, they'll cry, they might have a sook or something, but then they'll get straight back to fighting. But I don't know why they have this, they're ultra competitive with each other. And it could be the smallest thing, like, she said to Cadence to open the front sliding door, and Harley just ran over and opened it for her, and then Cadence got upset about it, because she took her time, and then she didn't get to open the door. But like, it's funny that they get, it's such a big thing to them.
Sure.
Right. But as you get older, we realize it's not really such a big thing. But I guess that's part of growing up.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
But one of the things that I just wanted to go back to was, when I asked you earlier about, has there been any times where you've questioned your decision, and you mentioned the philosophy degree.
Yeah.
So was there something in particular that you were studying in philosophy that made you think about this, or what was it?
Like during philosophy, I was questioning many things, because philosophy,
of course,
that's that one. That subjects allow us to questioning everything.
Yep.
And in the university, we had really good professors. Those who were really good at philosophy studies. What they usually do, in the class we discuss. Like, we don't go and study the theories. They give the subject to us. They say, okay, tomorrow we are going to discuss a theory of Plato or theory of Socrates, or this is what we are going to discuss. And the next day we read and go, and we take the normal day-to-day issue, what is happening in the newspaper. We just and put it in front, and one team is argue for that, and the team is argue
So it's a
against
debate.
that. Yeah, it's a debate, and many times we debate against God. Like
Okay.
one of our subject is a metaphysics subjects. So my professor is a Catholic priest.
Yep.
He said very clearly, say that if you're going to save your God, don't come to my class. If you want to get into the class, put your God outside and come in.
Okay.
So I like that very much. Why? Because I like that is sometimes we may have an understanding about God,
Yep.
which is we may not have the real understanding about God, because understanding like my belief in about at that point I have a picture about God, which maybe, as I said, given my parents, but I never had a chance to question about that. So I was questioning more about God, and this is happening in the university. But when you go back to the seminary, you have to follow the certain rules and everything, right? So it's more about, you get up the morning, like I don't say it's more kind of robotic life, but similar. You get up early morning, go to the church, do whatever is there. So same timetable for the weekday, same timetable for the weekend. You never question about what you believe and why you believe. Then at the first year of my philosophy, I asked my rector, like I asked few questions, why we are doing this one? Why should we do like that? Why you are following this kind of rules and regulation during this liturgy and that. Then he said, oh, I know why you are asking me this kind of question. First of all, you're smart and you're doing philosophy. That's the reason you're asking question. I said, I don't think so. I'm asking because I'm studying philosophy. I'm asking because I want to know. Yeah, I want to know, because if I don't know who God is to me personally, I don't understand, because it's hard for me. I don't feel any feelings during my prayer, because it's all structured prayer. Like we do divine office, which is the church official prayer. So when I read, I just read all those things there, all the noun, but it didn't give me any feelings, no meaning, or any kind of other rituals. I didn't feel connected to God. That's the reason I was asking questions, and this priest was super discouraging. And I happened to see, after entering the seminary only, what is a priest life look like after the ordination. So in that particular area, and the priestly life was super boring in the sense, maybe the priest whom I saw is like a super boring. They do the same thing every day. Just after the mass, go to a room, sit in the room, and those days priests have a laptop, because they can reach. Sometimes they get the gift, or some of the priests might have a chance to go to abroad to study. So when they come back, they usually use the laptop. So they just sit in the laptop, and we had a poor internet connection. So using that, they I watch some movies. Kind of a very boring life. And I was thinking, am I going to be a priest like this one? Because for my understanding is, I want to become a priest, one who go around like everywhere to meet the people, and especially to serve them or help them in a very little way. That was the priest I want to be. And I was thinking about that, and I said, no, maybe first I was thinking maybe priesthood may not be a right choice for me. That was I was thinking before my retreat, because after the retreat I have to take a major decision in my life. This is my 5th year in that seminary. After this seminary, I'm going to take a major steps. We call novitiate in that time. So that's the time you're going to commit your life in that particular congregation or order. So that's the biggest part in my life. So I have to take a decision. I have to say, okay, I live this life for the last 5 years, and I'm happy about that. So I'm going to take this next step. It's more like an engagement. Let's say, when you engage, you say that you are going to commit for this person, and you're going to marry like that. So that's a novitiate is the decision is kind of crucial in my life. So I was really thinking about that one, and I thought, why can't we ask help? So I went to my spiritual director, and I shared him, this is what I'm feeling. And he said, are you questioning about your vocation? Are you questioning about the congregation where you are, or the priest whom you look at? And I said, oh, that's interesting, because I'm thinking that this whole priestly life is a kind of a boring life. But by seeing this kind of a priest, whereas my motivation started from my parish priest, or a priest in my village whom inspired me a lot. And so we do have a, that's kind of 50-50
different ideal.
ideal priest. And I can't be like kind of a priest I want to be. I can shape, I can learn from each other. So I'm going to learn hereafter. I'm going to learn the good stuff from the a good priest, and I'm also learn from that, the kind of a nasty priest. And what I do, I won't do what they are doing, right?
Yep.
So that kicked me to go back that area. But I was so grateful on that time. I was the person asking question rather than a person who in the same place just listen whatever the formator say or rector say. So I was very grateful for that. But they call me as an arrogant person because they said that since I'm smart and I was top in all my uni classes, and I always score high marks. So in the seminary, if you score high marks, you have a kind of a prestigious thing. Kind of that's kind of a more Indian way. Yeah. So I was a beadle. I was kind of head up all the seminarians for 2 years even. So they all thought that I'm arrogant. That's the reason I was asking too many questions. But most of my question was kind of a very genuine. I said to them, like, I don't want to follow something since all the others are following. I want to become a different person. So that is the time I was really questioning about this priesthood life. And I came into a conclusion that, okay, I'm going to be a priest whom I want to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's a very interesting point, right? Because I think when people think about priests, they're either going to have one of two associations, right? So some people have the negative association because they look at, bad things that priests have done, right? And then they say, the church is full of pedophiles and all this sort of stuff, and they focus on that element. And then there are other ones that, look at priests and they say, they think about all the good things that priests have done, right? Unfortunately, it's the same label. A priest is a priest. Of course, the spectrum is wide in terms of whether they are good about it or whether they are bad. Just like what you're saying in terms of, from your education and from how you wanted to conduct how do you want to conduct yourself. There are things that should take that are good things, and there are things that you need to discard that aren't necessarily associated with the faith. They're just whatever that person has brought in with them, right? And I think that applies to so many things in life, right? Like, so, you can say that about any specific subset group of people, right? So people could say, oh, Indians, are hard to deal with because they always want to negotiate, right?
Yeah.
Because some people have that negative association when it comes to Indians, right? On the flip side, I always would tell my staff, the good thing about Indians, at least they buy. Right. So, if they're coming in at 4:45 and it's, you're meant to shut the doors at 5, they're coming in because they want to wear you down and negotiate with you, and they do actually want to purchase a vehicle. Right. So from that perspective, like there is, you can look at it both ways. You can look at it from the negative aspect, and there's good and bad in all types of people, whether you, I'm not, whether it's priests, whether it's monks, whether it's, corporate workers, whether it's blue collar workers, any race, religion, any way that you can divide people, there's going to be a spectrum of people.
Sure, very much.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, I thought that was a really nice way to look at it from that perspective. It made you question, did you want to actually go down that pathway? But then what you realize is just for you to try walk the pathway that you want means that you don't necessarily have to walk it the exact same way that somebody else has walked it, right? Just because somebody else is doing evil doesn't mean that you necessarily have to commit to doing evil.
Sure, yeah.
Right? Out of curiosity, did you get the answers that you wanted when it came to, the reasons why we do, why there are specific rituals and rites? Did you find the answers that you were looking for?
Still now I don't have that kind of, this is the answer, this is the reason what we do. But since now I'm doing my theology, because philosophy is all about, the science, questions and everything, and you don't much dive into that our Catholic belief or faith system or the liturgy and everything. But when I'm now doing my theology now, like I just completed my theology last year and doing my bachelor in ministry now. So while I was doing my theology, the way they explain the stuffs, like some of the professors are super good. They explain very much into practical level. For an example, what is Mass or what is the Eucharist celebration? It is nothing but your people are coming together to share fellowship. And that fellowship has all the symbolism added over the years, and all the church histories saying that, at one point how priests are in a kind of they are very equal to kind of a king, and that is the reason might be why the chalice are in the very golden
Gold.
color.
Yep.
All the most of the church look like very fancy.
Extravagant.
Yeah, because it's kind of they wanted the church to look like a palace. But if you go back to the early Christian, they were like in a secret place. They don't have even a place to gather. They were hiding. Still, they were breaking the bread. So when I learned those kind of a history, I felt that, oh wow, that's amazing. That's so good. So any kind of a fellowship or breaking the bread can be happen any place.
Yeah.
Like I always happy to meet a stranger or a person who don't have anything, and to share with him what I have, which I feel is a form of a mass for me. So I take all the symbolism of that Catholic Church, what they are doing in the liturgy, and I look back what is happening in the normal day-to-day life, and I felt that this is what the early church or maybe Jesus Christ want to be become. But over the years, over the 2000 years, lots of things happened, and each pope or each someone came, they wanted to our church look like this. So that's the reason, now why there are no many people in the church, and what happened before Vatican II, how church was a kind of a hierarchical church. We still remember in our school days catechism, we studied at the church of first the church was a kind of a triangle church where all are like, you have a kind of a category.
Levels,
now it's a circle church. All have access to Christ. And when you put all the picture together, I felt that, this is what all our liturgy is all about. Like, let's say, as I said, divine office is including all the psalms. Then what is psalm? Psalms are nothing but a dialogue between a two person. Even some of the psalms, they just curse God. They just express their anger, express their emotion and sadness. But during that my seminary formation, they didn't say that it's a dialogue with God. Like, you go to the place, you sit in front of God, and if you feel kind of a bad emotion, you just shout at God, why you are doing this one? Why you are giving me this much pain? Or even I don't use most of the swear words at all. Like, it's culturally wrong. So you can still scold God like that. And I felt that, oh wow, that's amazing, because that feels more personal. As I said, those days I didn't have any emotions at all. But after coming to here in Australia, after having formation with MGLs, like Missionaries of God's Love, they allow me to process my emotions very well. They gave me a freedom to, like, we don't want to put you in a kind of a box or in a particular spirituality. Just explore yourselves, how you can connect with God, how you can relate with God. And again, that helped me to go back to my my childhood memory. I remember every day, we don't have toilets in those time in our house. So for early morning, like 7 o'clock, something before you go to school, you have to go to the seashore for your toilet thing. So I usually go there. After finishing everything, I just stand. When I stand on my near to my house on the rock, I can see the church. And I just look at the church, and I, as a child, I just have a kind of this kind of dialogue, and I say, okay, this is what happened today. This is what happened today. This is what happened today. At one point in my life, we had a big fight in my family, because my mother had some jewelry, and my father have a habit of drinking much. So he usually asks money to my mother for drinking. If she didn't give, he just takes some of the jewelry and go to the place, and he just put it in the bank, because he knows that anyway he's going to earn it and take it back. So one day, a purse full of jewelry was missing. So my father and mother had an argument. They were kind of fighting each other, like fighting, not a physical fight in the family, but they were just arguing everything. And I felt so bad. This is happening for the whole 1 week, and we searched everywhere in the house. Then only at the end, my mother was doubting my father. He might have taken, and I was feeling so bad. So this particular morning, I went to the beach and have a conversation with, just having, hey, Jesus, this is what happening in my family, man. What you are doing? Just help me. And I asked him, and I felt kind of a sense in the sense, you get some kind of a moment. Oh, did you check this place? So we have a kind of a metal cupboard. When you open the door, you have a space and the other end, right?
Yeah.
So now I had that kind of feeling.
Is it
Maybe
behind?
Yeah, behind.
Fell
Just
behind.
just check the behind. Did you check the behind? I said, I don't know. Then I ran to my house. It's kind of a hill, like 10 to 20 feet hill. I just ran to my house and I checked. I put my hand inside,
Yep.
and the purse was behind that one. And I was, wow. So whenever I think about a prayer
Yep.
or kind of any form of prayer, then I go back to that memory. I said, that is a place I felt so connected with God. So here in MGL, what I do during my prayer day or any time, I feel kind of very much bored with this kind of a structural prayer. I say, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to close my book. I'm just going to have that dialogue. So still now, I go to the beaches. Like in Melbourne, I go to the Melbourne beaches, or even when I happen to here in Sydney during my summer holidays in 2017 and 18, I always try to go to the beach. Just try to listen that sound of the sea and go back to the memory.
Yep.
And just have a dialogue. I say, oh man, this is what happening in my life right now. I feel this one and this what happening. Do you have any answer? And somehow I got heaps of answers. And I like this kind of IT field very much. Most of the time when I stuck with IT thing or solution or something, some problems comes on my way. If I'm looking for a solution, I just pause and ask. And out of 10, at least 9 times I received the answer. So that area I always feel connected. So I said, this prayer is working.
Yeah.
That when we ask, I'm receiving. So I'm having dialogue. So I always call Jesus as my friend. Why? Because I value all my friends very much. Because in two friends, we can share everything. The thing we don't share with our families or our siblings, we share with the friends. So same thing I'm doing with Jesus. So that's helps me to understand how this structural way of prayer works. Because all our liturgies, like whatever maybe we are following as a Catholics, all help us to connect with the God in a different way. Because as you know, that each one have their own unique way to relate with someone, right? So I thought, okay, this is not working to me, the structure way of prayer.
Yep.
But I'm still have that deep dialogue connection with Jesus.
Yep.
It's working. So that's what all our goal about, whether it's a mass or whether it's adoration or rosary or anything. If that doesn't help me to connect with God in a deeper level, and even though I'm reciting rosary or I'm going for mass for like 40 years, and if I don't have that personal connection, like what is the use of that? So when I realize that one, I understand, okay, this is working for me. So I will follow that. Yeah.
There's a couple of things that I thought to touch on, listening to your story there. One of the things is that I think, a lot of what gets put into religion, right? So, when we talk about the big churches and all that sort of stuff, like I feel like there's a lot of things that we do in God's name, right, that may not necessarily be what God wants, right? And so as an example, all these religious wars that have been fought, and lives lost for those sorts of things, like, is that really what God wants, And I guess, the way I approach this, and look, my view is probably a very subjective view. It's my personal view, right? And I don't, profess to be any sort of expert on this kind of stuff, right? But I guess what in terms of my journey with faith, my grandmother was a Buddhist. My father's a Buddhist. I grew up more Buddhist. I lent more to that side of things, and that was also culturally through martial arts and all that sort of stuff as well. Training kung fu. I trained a Shaolin style of kung fu, which is obviously from that side of Buddhism, right?
Yeah, that's my favorite one. I have to say. I love kung fu.
So, but I guess what I found interesting, and so I did the Alpha course here at St. Declan's. I did it with a friend, Neil, who is Catholic, but he also likes to question these things, right? And when I did the Alpha course, it was I found it interesting, but it didn't really. I wouldn't say that I necessarily felt like any sort of spark, right? And I know, you know, everybody has has different experiences, right? And the only thing I would say is that if you haven't done an experience like that, you should, right? Because you don't know until you try.
Sure,
right?
very much.
And so, you know, for me it was good because, you know, we could ask questions, we can have open communication and discussion, right? And a lot of the times, you know, Neil and I would actually just be outside in the car park afterwards, you know, talking about all these really hard questions that we didn't want to bring up to scare everybody else off in the group, right? But I did have an interesting experience, and that came about, you know, through a drug, right? And the drug's called Mescaline. I'm not condoning it, and I'm not saying you should, and I wouldn't wish anybody to do it. And at the same time, you know, I am, you know, very grateful that I did do it, right? So, you know, basically it's like a form of, it's distilled from a cactus, basically. So some, I think in North Indian, or not even, like when I say Indian, American Indian cultures call it peyote or something like that. And it was a very interesting experience for me. And I did describe this in the last podcast, but obviously you wouldn't have listened to it because I haven't put it up yet. So I'll explain it again and, you know, try and give you some context, right? So basically, part of what the drug does, it's like a paralytic. So it causes you to have some form of paralysis.
Wow.
Right? And sounds crazy, but what it did for me was, like, I had like these spasms, right? So it'll be like a twitch, like having a seizure almost, right? And the way I would describe it is like you think about a large body of water, where, let's say a lake, right? But there's no edges to the lake, so it's this infinite pool of water,
Right.
right? And if you were to touch, you know, the middle point of that, whatever is the arbitrary middle point of that water, you're going to create ripples.
Yeah.
Right. And those ripples would obviously, you know, extend outwards and keep going to the edges of the lake. But in this particular case, there's no edges. It goes to infinity. Right. So one of the things that came to me off the back of that was, what's creating that initial point, right? That little doop, that causes that ripple, right? And so, you know, whether it's a creator or a god or, you know, some kind of, there has to be some kind of spark, right, to cause a big bang, right? If that's the scientific explanation for how the universe has been created, right? And then, you know, through that experience, so as these ripples would sort of go out, like my spasms would sort of increase, and basically what I would feel is like I was living a life, right? And I was seeing like a child growing up and going through all these different milestones in life and then dying. And when I die, it'd be like there'd be nothing. Yeah. Right? It'd be still, dead still. And then, but that stillness would last, I don't know, it felt like a long time, but it was probably only a second. Right? And then it would happen again. The next ripple and the next life. And it sort of just kept escalating and escalating and escalating until I felt like I'd died like 10,000 times. Right? So, and that's why I don't wish it on anyone, right? Like, you know, you feel like you've lived and died that many lives, like, what's left to experience? And then I started to have like, and so basically at that point, you know, well, a couple of things happened throughout that night. So one thing happened where I heard my daughter call out to me. So I went to the room and I was, you know, still like stumbling around, right? And but I felt like this profound love for her as a parent, and that was, you know, when I was looking at my daughter Cadence and my son Harley. And then I went back to the study and I lay back down, and you know, the next thing was sort of like I saw these very vivid sort of imageries of like almost like fireworks, right? So different colored fireworks, but what those fireworks represented were lives. You know, a life that, you know, it lives, it does its thing, and then boom, in an explosion, it's gone. And as there's all these fireworks sort of going on and off and out, and it was like a tapestry, right? And that tapestry, I would say, it looked like a snake skin, right? When I say that, it's just like it's two colors. It was like silver and black. I don't really think there was any sort of reason for the colors, but that's just what it was. And what it started to dawn on me as it kept sort of zooming out was just how many lives there are, right? Like there's been an infinite amount of lives up until we've gotten to this point, and there's going to be an infinite more amount of lives up until the day that the universe ceases to exist, right? And then so then at that point in time, then I must have been coming towards the end of it, right? And so I've gotten up, I've grabbed my phone, and I've started to, type down all these thoughts that had started coming to my mind, and basically I wanted to document the experience. And so, part of what I would say is, if anyone does ever do anything like that, is to go in with questions, because that's why I went. I did it. I did it because I wanted to ask questions about, is there a God? Is there this? Is there that? Like that's why I did it. And I guess the moment that was sort of a highlight for me was, I guess and this was why I brought up the point about, a lot of the times people do things in the name of God, but it's not necessarily what God wants, right? Because I started to think that, okay, if you're this infinitely powerful being that basically has lived forever, right? There is nothing in this world that is going to surprise you.
Yeah.
There is no amount of suffering or no amount of good that anybody could do that will be surprising to you. If anything, life would almost be boring, right? There is no, by that stage, you have experienced everything that life has had to offer, or every single possible iteration of what life has had to offer, that nothing would excite you at all.
Yeah.
Right? And this was I never understood when people would talk about, what is God's love, right? But then this was the thing that sort of, it clicked for me. I don't know if it makes sense to anyone listening, right? But this is the part that clicked for me, is that if you were this infinitely powerful thing that had, there's nothing that could excite you or, make you feel upset or happy, or you couldn't experience any more emotion because you've experienced it all. You've got no ego. Doesn't matter if people call you names and yell at you and say, God, why did you do this to me? Why are you punishing me? Or God, you love me so much and this is why you've given me so much in life, right? To God, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? But then what part of the, and I guess, part of the reason that I found was profound for me was that it doesn't matter to God, what we think or feel or, basically how we react to him. But his act of love is giving us life so that we could enjoy it to the full. And to me, I found that to be, it's almost like the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
Right? You're giving somebody a life to experience all of these things, not that it matters to you, but that it matters to that person. And for me, I found that to be like the closest thing that I could say to feeling like the Holy Spirit. Right? And I probably cheated to get there, right? And that's why I say I don't condone it, right? And so, would I do it again? I don't need to do it again, right? Like I feel like, to me, that experience, I don't wish it on anyone. Am I glad I did it? I'm glad I did it, right? But at the same time, I don't wish that experience on anyone. And I feel like you could get there through other means, right? You can get to that point through other means.
Sure.
So that's why I don't wish it on anyone.
Sure.
But like that was the experience that I had. And for me, I felt that was really profound for me, right? Because to me, it was like something clicked and I finally understood what God's love was. That, we could, no matter whether we discard him and we say there's nothing, he has no impact over my life, or we love him and we have, we put him on a pedestal and he has every impact on our life. But it doesn't matter to him. Right, it's that selfless, that it doesn't matter to him. And then it was interesting because, like, I guess with all my notes, I also felt like at the end of the experience, and I've only more recently started talking about it because when I came out of that experience, I was like, really, I don't need to share this with anyone. Like I didn't feel like I came out of it and I wanted to suddenly go and start preaching, all this sort of stuff. But the only reason I think I like to bring it up in these kinds of conversations is because I see these sort of parallels, right? When we talk about, things, whether the church looks like this or the church looks like that and these sorts of things. I just feel like there are so many things in that I got from that experience that helped me to view things differently.
Yeah.
Right? And it was weird because even after the experience, like that whole morning until probably like 3 PM, I was still getting these sorts of weird revelations or epiphanies or something like that. Because I feel like you almost have this disconnect between yourself as a person and your ego. And I think that's what part of, I guess, what gives you these sorts of experiences on mescaline. But you know, that's like an example I could give you was like that morning my kids wanted to eat pistachio nuts. And then they were like, you know, just being annoying and kept, Papa, can you open these pistachio nuts, right? And like the link that I got was like, you know, this would be like when people pray to God and they say, God, can you give me this? God, can you give me that? Right? It was the same sort of feeling, right? That it's like, you know, these people are at your mercy because they're asking you for this and that. And it's like, yeah, I could, you know, I'll peel one nut for you. Here you go. Right? Or I might not. Right? I have that power. But it doesn't matter to me. Right? But it matters to them. And then like another thing that I felt like was a sort of interesting one was that Eden, the baby, she did a poo. And, you know, I need to clean her up. And, you know, the sort of connection that I got to that was like, you know, when you consume life, the output is sin, right? So like when we consume food, the output is poo. Yeah. Right? And I don't know why I had this sort of weird association, but that was the association that I got. And I guess for me, you know, I used to always think when people use the word sin, it sounds like such a dirty word, right? So, you know, when I looked at it from that perspective, and it's like, yeah, poos are dirty, but you know, you wash away the poo, and you know, things are back to normal, right? Yeah. And so then it sort of helped me to understand, you know, when you consume life, and the output is sin, then for you to rejoin God, the only natural thing is to wash away the sin, right? And like these are all sort of weird things that I created these sort of links to, whether they have any sort of link in religion or not. Look, maybe you can tell me better than I could. But the interesting thing I found was that, you know, when Angela read my notes, she said, oh, like this sounds like a Bible verse. that sounds like a Bible verse. And like for me, I haven't read the Bible. Right. And so I thought, you know, and I guess I actually asked Father Chris this, you know, perhaps there is some link to how, you know, religions may have started, and, you know, some of these psychedelic substances, because, you know, back when, you know, we didn't know what was put into the alcohols and things like that, perhaps some of those things could have had an impact. I do also say, though, that, you know, I think you could get to that same place that I got to on those substances without those substances, right? So I almost feel like in hindsight, I would say it was like a cheat code, and the game is actually more exciting without the cheat code, right? Which is why I would say that I wouldn't go back and do it again, right? I don't know. Does that speak to you at all? Very much. Yeah, like when you are sharing your experience, right? I'm just you know, thinking about like what I usually do whenever I love to listen story as you do. So whenever someone share the story, I usually have that, you know, that kind of a scene is going in my mind. Yeah, I like a picturize and everything. So particularly when you said that you went to see your daughter inside, and you feel that the love and everything, right? So that's a other way helps me. Like I felt God's presence more than inside the church than outside the church. Particularly like some of the experience I have seen in Australia and even in India. Whenever I see a person, one who don't have anything, let's say a homeless person or a poor beggar sitting on the road and begging, and I look at their face, they have that eagerness. You know, they don't know what will happen next moment, whether they will get something to eat or not. They are just eagerly waiting to someone to put something. But like just one day I was look at the Sydney, there is a park in front of the cathedral. I was just sitting and look at this person. Apart from he is asking the people, he just sit and was enjoying his meal. There was some joy in that, and the way like some people, like though that hundreds of people walking by, some people have a heart to help them, and there is a kind of that fellowship is happening, or there is something they're helping the stranger. I don't know why they are doing, and like whenever I look at these things are happening, I feel something in the heart. Like, and my question is like, why I'm feeling like that? Why should I feel like that? I don't know this person at all.
right? Like like I didn't have money that time because as a seminarian we cannot have money to carry like during the 4 weeks or 4 or 6 week holidays we get $50. That's the money you have to manage with all your Opal card and everything, right? So you have that in my money, but I really want to give everything, but like I cannot go back to the place where I'm staying. So all this happening, and obviously you think about God in that moment. You say, God, why you making treating him like that? Like, since I'm here, I have a dress, I have a food to eat, and you help me through other people, and people are feeding me, people are helping me, and why you are doing like this and like that? And that, like, one answer I would say that you are asking me what you are doing about that. And that's a kind of a moment strike me very well. So
you're asking God, why are you doing this to someone else? But what are you doing about that other person?
So there's other question, like what you are doing?
Yeah.
What you are doing about that one? You're just you're just like others. You're just complaining or sharing to me, or like what you are doing. Can you do something about that? That's really struck me. Why I said that? Like I felt more God's presence in other people. Like they may not be, as you said, they may not be a church goer, they may not be a Catholics, or they may not have any religion. They may not follow any religion in their life at all. But through that different experience, I have learned much about God. Or I don't know how that connect with God's characteristics or anything. Like how like why that moment I feel very connected with others. I don't know where that is the nature of me as a human.
Yeah.
But I felt more close in that area. Like another recent thing happened. During this COVID lockdown, I came here during the lockdown, right? So I was like, what I was thinking, like, okay, I came here for the mission, and with I was thinking, okay, I'm going to do heaps of things, like, and I was thinking, okay, what I'm now lockdown, what I'm going to do? Okay, I will enjoy my 6 months here and just go back. Then I was like, one day I was just sitting in our balcony near to our house, and I happened to see an old lady. She was just walking, like she was walking slowly near to our pathway. And she just stopped in front of our grotto where we have a Mother Mary statue there. She just looked at and just prayed and just passed. And I said to myself, wow, this lady in her old age make a time to pass and pray, because she felt God's like a presence there. And what I'm going to do about that? Can I help them? Can I help the people right now, those who are inside the lockdown, who really wanted to come to the church because they felt that they want more connected? Can I do something about that? And I thought, okay, what are the other areas to help? Or like what I'm trying to say here, like I didn't go to the church, or I didn't, have this kind of a godly moment much inside the church rather than outside the church. So this outside people taught me a lot about who maybe God look like. As you said, I'm a super curious person to really want to see God. Sometimes it's like it scares me like anything. Like I still have that kind of a scary image from the movies. Imagine in the movie when some supernatural things appear, how people react. So in the darkness, I never say the prayer, God, come and see me, because I'm really scared about, like, you are in a dark place and someone pop up and say, hey, I'm a God. I was like, no, don't do that. But I really wanted to see God and ask him, man, I'm learning much about you, like, through theology, or someone saying about you're like that, but no one has seen you yet. Which all we know. Even Jesus said that, right? When one of the disciples asked him, show me the Father, and he said, if you see me, you have seen Father. So even the disciples have a chance to see the Father. But we do have all the theology based on a Bible. So whenever I read the theology, I said, God, these people are fighting by your name. They are thinking that you are look like this, look like that. Why can't you come now and show who you are? I really want to meet you. So yeah, but as you said, like I do have all those images too, but
Their
no.
association. I feel like there are associations that we as people
Yeah,
put on
yeah.
him, right? Like, so we because we think of him being like a human like us. That's why we appeal to humanity when we go, how can you do this to someone?
Yeah.
You know, how can you allow there to be this sort of suffering in the
yeah.
world, or these wars, or that war, or, you know, like all these bad things to happen, right? But I think, you know, you can't look at him with the same eyes,
Yeah.
right? You can't view it from that perspective, because if you're beyond humanity, right? Like if you have no ego whatsoever, good or bad doesn't mean anything to you. Right? It's not like, you know, somebody can put you down and then you want to work harder to prove something, because you have nothing to prove. If you've lived forever, you have nothing left to prove. Right?
Like many of my friends ask me, like, you know, the super curious people, they always have one question in you know, any kind of a how can you prove the card? You know, like I was like, honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
And another question is, why should I prove the existence of the God? And like if I prove, what will happen next?
Yeah.
Like what is the other question will come like that? So yeah, it's a more what do you call? I don't say it's a kind of a gray area to discuss, but still it's as I say, I always ask a question. And like in any circumstances, I will always ask question about who he is. And every day, as I said, I'm learning about God every day through different people.
Yeah.
And I say, oh man, if you are a super powerful, super, you know, great God, you should have that kind of a quality. And when we talk about sufferings, I had a kind of a hard conversation with one of my theology professors who was in the class. We were learning about a suffering God.
Yep.
So there's a question was asked, can God suffer? And you never imagine how much the seminarians were very much angry with that professor, saying that how can God suffer? He's a great person. He cannot suffer this and that. Like there was that. But what I was feeling, like I always argue for myself. I say, man, I respect what you're saying, but this is what I believe. You know, I said to them, like, I feel surely if he is Almighty God, if he can have all the characteristics of the whole human beings, all the nature put together, if he is not suffering, then he may not be God. He is lacking something.
Yeah.
So, like for an example, we all believe that Jesus is a God, and he suffered on the cross, and it has a historical evidence and historical proof, and it is written, and you have a heaps of evidence there, more than Catholic evidence. You do have a historical evidence written in the history, and he suffered. And we all, as a Catholics, we all believe that he suffered and died. And you're saying that God cannot suffer. Like I don't understand. Like even if you're a normal, a logical human being, you can understand that. And yeah, I had that kind of a weird thing, because I have a great passion for suffering. Why? Because like most of my life, I don't know why I can handle most of my sufferings like that. Like even few times I had a one not an accident during game. I had I play hockey too. So when I play hockey, someone hit me
the stick.
with the stick, because it was my fault. I went to the wrong side, so he hit me. I was like, I didn't cry. And once I was walking on the road, and a bus kind of hit me, but it was not a huge bang. It was just crossed me. I was very close. So I was bleeding. I didn't notice that. And sometimes during the sports, I always have some injury. So most of the time I feel that I don't feel that much pain at all. So in a way, I was kind of handling suffering very much. But whenever I look at the cross during my prayer time or anything, somehow I was started to cry. I don't know why I cry, but I was thinking that this person, whether he's like I trust him, I believe him, he's a God, and he died for some of the people in his time, and he underwent all this kind of a suffering. Because why I started to cry at that particular moment is, at one point of my life I was listening to a historical evidence of a cross, and that time how much pain someone can have in that cross. Because when you're hanging in that particular position, your both hands have a same have the same body weight or something. If you are 75 kilo weight, your both hand have the equal weight in that position. That is that much pain you are going to handle. And I was thinking, like, who can do that one? So here comes my friendship relationship with Jesus, saying that like I believe that you died for me in that area. Like who can do that? Like if I have that kind of a chance, will I do that? I may say with a great kind of that enthusiastic way. Yeah, I'm going to. I'm a devoted Catholic. I'm going to die for my friend in the area. But if the real situation come, if someone going to ask me, can you die for your friend? Will I do that? So in that area, I really felt that someone died and suffer for me, and Jesus Christ, and He's a God. And so if someone come and say to me, like us, kind of a theological argument, or anyone, God cannot suffer, but they may have all this theological evidence from the different theologians or anyone. But I said that, like, okay, I accept your arguments. I can understand what you say, but this is what I feel. Like I don't want to get let's say the famous theologian Thomas Aquinas, or I don't want to bring Augustine's here. I want to bring Viknesh here. Yeah. So Viknesh trusts that this is what happens. Yeah. Why I trust that? Because I feel some kind of a pain. I don't know where it comes from. So I feel that God can suffer too. So whenever, like, that's why I'm trying to share here is most of the time whenever I have a conversation with young people, those who are very much curious about suffering, pain and everything, and they always have this kind of a question, like, if God is good, why there is a pain? If God is good, why there is suffering? Then that questions may be a kind of a general question, but if you sit with them and ask, and what do you mean? Then they have a story behind. Yeah. Like, let's say they may have a friend who is really suffering with some kind of a chronic disease, or someone may lost his mother. When I say this one, I had one experience in Canberra during my second year. I was helping I was doing a ministry in a school every Thursday. It is you go and do RE classes, and one of the kid, he was doing his year 5. We were talking about heaven, and how after your death, how you go to heaven, and you become like angels. There is no suffering. There is always happiness and everything. So this boy stood up and asked the question, I lost my mother during my young age, and you are saying that if I go in the heaven, all will be like angels. There is no relationship at all. So when I die, if I go to heaven, if I happen to see my mother, will she not recognize me or not? I was like, that questions, that point, I was thinking, how can I going to answer this boy using all my theology or philosophy, all my experience? How can I going to answer this boy? Am I going to say, no, scripture say that if you go to heaven, you cannot recognize your mother will be like an angel. So even though if you are going to say mama in heaven, your mother going to see you, am I going to give that kind of an answer? Yeah. Or am I going to be, God, no, like that? Like it was so much thing to say. So that's what I always thinking that, like, this we have. So we all connected with that pain and emotion, and we project on God and thinking that God may not suffer, God may not understand our pain at all. But I as I said, I always believe that God always understand our pain and suffering, and that is the reason as a Catholics we believe He sent His Son to save us. But it's always us to have a decision. So we are every day, every moment we take a decision whether I want to be in this side of joy or happiness, or
have this relationship, right?
Yeah. What I want to do, what I want, like, because we have a complete freedom. Yeah. that's what we.
Well, it's your own relationship,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
it doesn't matter it's like,
Yeah.
with your own father, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter to me what your relationship with your dad is. It should only matter to you,
Yeah.
right?
And then
So-
that, like, you know that if you put your finger on the fire, it's going to hurt you. But do you do it every day?
Yeah.
Like you may have a curiosity. Okay, it won't do anything to me, my finger, and you're putting in the fire. Now you feel the pain, and then you have next time you have a choice to choose. You may think that, okay, if I want to have the same pain, I'm going to put it again and again. As you said, that was sin does, isn't it? Like you know that when you do something wrong, and you feel that sometimes, like I'm not, though I'm studying for a seminar, and I cannot say that I never sin in my life.
Yeah.
Like for me,
That's why I say, like,
Yeah.
the analogy I got was that it's
Yeah.
just a natural output of life.
Yeah.
You consume life. There has to be an output. When you
Yeah.
anytime when energy is used, there is some form of residue.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So like if you burn wood, you get ash.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the same thing. When if you're going to create energy, you have this energy that we consume life with. There has to be some kind of an output. And I never used to look at it like that.
Sure.
I used to think sin was just like this dirty word.
Yeah.
Right. And so I always used to feel like when Christians would talk about sin, I was just like, or sinners or sinning. It's just like, ugh. It's such a feels so judgmental and preachy.
Yeah, very much.
And I don't think that's actually I guess when I look at it with a different lens and I view it as when you consume life, the natural output is sin. It doesn't sound so bad.
Yeah.
Right? Because everybody's consuming life. If you're alive, you're consuming life.
Sure. Yeah.
So from that perspective, everybody has sin. Right? So it's not to say, oh, you're a sinner.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So yeah, out of curiosity, what did you end up telling that boy? So the boy was asking, when I go to heaven.
I literally, myself and another brother was there. I was literally shocked. In
So you
that
didn't have an
area,
answer.
I didn't have an answer. I said to him very clearly. So that's the point. I just, as I said to you before, like if I don't know something, I say to them,
Yeah.
sorry, I don't. And I said to them, like, in that moment, I'm about to cry. I was so emotional because that question, the one question, as I said, it stripped me away all my so-called, the knowledge which I gained for how many years in my, all my experience with the priest or religious, all one. It stripped me away. When I was standing, I said, sorry, bro. I don't know. I don't have an answer.
Yeah.
And I know that the next time I may go to the same class, but I never, answer that boy at all because I don't want to give, go and find some theological, Google it or find some theological response of what did the heaven look like, what did the hell look like. And I'm not going to, go
Sometimes
and say
you won't know until you experience it, right?
Yeah, like, yes, as you said that, like, how do I know that? Like, and I also value the question the boy asked because I can understand why he asked the questions, though I don't experience because my mom and fathers are still alive and I never had a chance of someone whom I love lost. So far now, I never had that chance. So I don't feel that pain. But when the boy asked that
You
that
could
question,
empathize with
yeah, so I can feel that pain
Emotion.
and I didn't have any answer. Like still now, I don't have an answer for that. I don't know how to answer the question at all. Yeah.
Okay. Let's switch gears a bit. I want to talk about the tsunami in 2004. 2004?
Yeah, 2004, December 26.
Yeah, Boxing Day. So, so my wife mentioned this story, and so I wanted to find out from you. So obviously, in a coastal town,
Yep.
Your village was impacted, right?
Yeah, very much.
And I think when I think the overall stats from that tsunami, there was like just over 250,000 people died from that tsunami, right? So did you experience it firsthand?
Yeah, like I was, as I said, like we don't have a toilet, so my everyday routine is go
To the ocean.
go to the ocean, near to the rock, for my like all the morning thing. And a day before is a Christmas, and Christmas, as I said, is a
Big celebration.
super celebration. It's like you go to the 24th night mass and you dance and have all the fun and everything till early morning 25th, early morning 4th. Then you sleep, and whole 25th Christmas all in this all on the sea. You take a boat and dance, and you have heaps of celebration. So 26th is kind of a resting day for us. Like most of the people sleep on that day, and I feel now that's a blessing. We didn't lose heaps of people, because if that would happen one day before,
Everybody's
all
on the
out in the
ocean.
sea, like all gone.
Yeah.
So we were sleeping. So I got up like 8 or 9 o'clock that time, and I went to the seashore and went near to the sea, and I was like finishing all my morning thing, and as I said, I was doing my normal conversation. Just look at my church. I was talking, and I happened to see this a big wave is coming. Like my area, when that time, we always get a big wave, like super big wave. So it was quite normal to us. And
when you say big, like what's a normal big wave? How many meters high would it be?
Let's say, I don't know how many. Like if I say in feet, at least it's more than 4 to 5 feet.
4 to 5 feet. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not too.
Yeah, like more like a surfing, like
a surfing wave.
Yeah. So that's kind of a wave, and we do have a big rock, so it will hit and it will not splash. So I enjoy that as a
so
kid.
it hits the rocks.
Yeah, it hit the rock, so that I enjoy that too. So as a kid, right? So I was seeing that this wave is coming, and I feel that it's not a natural wave, because I always on the sea during my weekend. My friends all play a game. It's a kind of a swimming game and everything. So I felt like it is not that kind of a natural. So what I did, I just stepped back, like few feet back, and I happened to see the next wave, which was really higher than that, and I was feeling that something is wrong.
Yeah,
something is really wrong. The third wave is more than like at least 10 to 12 feet.
Okay,
it's a huge, and I was started to panicking.
Yep.
Then the place the rock is kind of a what do you call a flat surface. Then you have to climb up like that. It's more kind of a
so it's like a
hiking
wall. It's a wall.
Yeah, it's a wall with a rock. So you have you can hold some of the rocky area, and so you can climb up. Yeah.
So this is in front of your place. Or?
Yeah, like so my street is on the big rock. So I have to come down to the floor for my
for the morning
thing.
Yep.
Then I climb back again.
Okay.
Like that. So you have to climb at least, let's say some how many meter, like at least another 50 to 70 meter rock. Then you have a small pathway, kind of a man-made pathway to walk back to our street. So when I saw this wave, I was suddenly just climbing fast.
Yep.
When I hold the like one particular area, right, the wave just bang on my back.
Oh,
like
wow.
I go like dang. Then I out of shock, I look back. When I look back, we have all the houses just close to the sea, like just less than 2 or 3 feet close to sea. Because sea, then we keep the boats, then house.
Yeah.
All gone. And that's the first time in my life I have seen the power of the water. It took everything, including the foundations, and all our boats are inside. And that's the first time in my life. That time, like I was in year 7. That's the first time in my life I have seen the whole sea was kind of dried up.
Yeah,
all the waters
everything's gone, getting sucked back to go again.
Yeah, so I was so panicking, but I don't know what to do. So I just ran to my street and I was shouting. Like, this is happening. I don't know what to do. Then all people were sleeping inside. They were doing their, and moms were cooking morning. They all came, and we were literally shouting that this is anger. God is angry at us. We usually call the sea as our mother.
Yep.
So our mother sea is angry at us. So someone may did something really terribly wrong. So first things they do is they ring the church bell, which is a sign of danger. And our village is like is from, we do have a low area and we do have a high area. So my streets people are living in a high area where we have a lighthouse and everything. And at least we have a kind of a hill. So where if the sea comes that area, our whole state would be covered, because that we are in a kind of a what you call a heap, the top of that hill.
A cliff.
Whereas other part of the village is so down, where my aunties and my 2 or 3 aunties place is there, and my neighbor village is completely flat. The sea level is higher than the land is very lower than the sea level, so it will be completely covered with that. So what my other the fishermen they were running back to their place, and my father said to me, he ran back to the neighbor village, which is at least another 7 to 8 kilometers from my house. He ran to that village because one of my auntie had a really young kids, like my one cousin maybe during that time, like 6 months. That whole
Young.
another cousin is like at least in like 3 or 4 years old. So he ran back to the family to make sure that they are there. But when he went, nobody was there because the whole house,
gone.
the whole house was filled with water. The water level is more than coconut tree, so that much high. But they are all kind of a professional kind of a swimming people. So they were searching, they were shouting, they couldn't find anyone. So we don't know what happened to them at all. Like no news.
So even now, you still don't know?
No, like, but they are all safe. Like as I said, luckily none of the person in my family died, because most of the like somehow the coconut tree helped many people. Like the water pushed them up.
Yep.
They were holding
To the tree.
some tree to save their life, but still we lost most of our friends, because those time we didn't have that kind of friendship relationship. But we had a kind of a break. That was our Christmas holiday break, like 10 days, something like a break. But when we went back to the school after the Christmas holiday, then only we just looking each
people.
other, who are still living, who are not there, because this is the time we don't have a cell phone, even we don't have a landline, nothing.
Wow.
And TV, rarely one or two house may have a TV, and we didn't have electricity for a long time. Because of that. Now all the pole and all the electricity poles are down on the ground. And I remember I was trying to walk to the next village alone, out of curiosity to see my auntie whether she's alive or not. And I can see the dead bodies are here and there.
Wow.
But as a baby, I didn't
really think much about it.
much about that. For me, it's more like, what happened?
Yeah.
What happened? Like, like why this has happened? This is a very new thing.
Yeah,
to
never
me.
experienced it before, right?
Yeah. But the good thing happened in that time is, though we are all kind of Catholic people, and all the other side people are kind of a Hindu or Muslims, all came and help us.
Came together.
Yeah, they came together. They help us. They fed us. The main thing we want that time was clothes. And milk for the babies, or food, water to drink, and everything. So they helped a lot. And this whole in my village is like, at least we lost more than 100 or 200 people. Lost in the sense, we count the people died whom bodies were discovered. At least they identify using the clothes, because those days we don't have that kind of a ID, or you cannot check, you cannot go to the hospital or do kind of check. So this all identify using clothes. And many bodies still didn't discover, so we count them as missing. So more than 400 people were kind of still missing. So we all have in each village now, we all have a tsunami remembrance kind of a place where they all buried together. So because all our cemeteries are close to the seashore too, so all are washed away. So the only way you can bury is dig a big hole and put everybody together. So each village have their own tsunami affected place where they all bury together. And still now every year 26th of December we remember them as like November 2nd. You remember the also it's like every December 26th. We sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, we remember them. Yeah.
So it's with the I guess being in year 7, like obviously it's such a new experience. Did you then at what point did you start to process that, like this has happened, and then obviously you would have been missing some friends and things like that as well. Did you go through grief? Like what? I know you like, because it's quite far in the past now that you're probably more at peace with it, obviously. But at the time, was it a very emotional time for the village? Yeah,
it's like that year we were kind of we didn't know what has happened, how that looked like, right? And the first year, like a year after 2005, and that particular day, so that was the time over the year, because some still were believing that they are living in some part of the world, or sometimes the wave might have taken you, and those days it's hard to communicate. So they were still had that hope that they are living somewhere, and you will listen. Like one day, somehow you will
Find them again.
find them again. So the next year on that 26th, you can see people, how people are crying, and the whole family lost the father or a child, something like that. So when I was in that area, so though I didn't lose someone, I was grieving with them as a fellow person of that village. Yeah, I was grieving with them too, and it's hard to see when people are crying with that, the genuine eagerness. As I said, some didn't know that whether the person is alive or not, so they don't know what to do. They don't know whether need to mourn or what to do, or like what will happen if they thinking that they died, and if they come back, like all those uncertainty were happening. But honestly saying, in that time I didn't have that kind of thought process to going through. For me, it's all about, it's a kind of, as a kid, you look at it, it's what is happening, what is that?
Were people blaming God?
Oh, well, like they didn't. It was not a blame on God. It was blame on the people itself.
They brought this to the village.
Yeah, they were thinking like, what did we do for this happen? Then later, in a year or so, only we realized that all those scientific thing. This is called tsunami. That's the first time we heard the word tsunami. Though we are a kind of a traditional fisherman, we never had the term at all. And the first time they said this happened because of when the earth plates are happened, and it started in Indonesia, Sumatra, and it came here, and it affected all this area and everything. But still, you think that this has happened because of something like that. And from that time onwards, like we did have many changes in our village. Like many took, like I felt one point, I think it should be in my year 9 or 10. Like that time, at least I do have few thought. My thinking pattern has been increased and everything. Like people took advantage of that. Like many organization like that. The NGOs, even some not some Catholic organization, some other denomination took advantage of people. They just go to the people affected people area. They just took a photograph and sent it to foreign countries and making money. I was at one point, I was like super angry at those people, though I cannot do anything about that. I was so angry at those people, like how people are making money out of that. At the same time, other priests, like some of the priests whom I know from my village, they were really helping the people to get an education. Then I have to mention here, so after year 9, I studied in an institution which was built for tsunami affected people.
Oh wow!
So I joined that we call, we don't want to call it that as a hostel or orphanage or semi-orphanage. We call them as a home because we all wanted to feel that's like a home. So it's a children's home started in our village for tsunami affected people in our whole for our whole district or whoever maybe in our area. So I wanted to join that place because I felt that these priests are doing really
the right things.
Good job. So when you come back with these kind of a nasty people, those who are taking advantage of this natural situation, whether these priests are helping this people. So I joined that area, and I got heaps of friends who were directly now lost their loved ones in that area. So I had a good relationship with them. 4 years of my year 9, 10 till year 12, I studied with them, and we do share heaps of stories there. And that's another reason I really value my friendship, because I was in that place where we all need that love and care, because we lost those love and care during that time. So that's helped me to shape my preschool journey too. Like I was thinking, like, for whom I'm going to serve. I want to serve these kind of people, those who are in need. That right. Like disaster is happening everywhere, every time. Like that, like what is happening in the world every day. And there, I think in that time, particular area, this priest helped us. and
And you're
they
grateful for
gave
that, yeah.
education to us. They gave shelter to the people,
Mm.
and like most of my friends are now really in a really good position. Like many people are in UAE, or UK, or USA. All are in a really good position. Those who are studying in that
In that
area,
place, yeah.
and we are all grateful for that
Yep.
priest and what they did. And that's another, all those motivations come from that too. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I guess, the only other thing I'm curious about is because you basically had never left your village until
Yeah.
you came to Australia, right?
Yep.
Was it a culture shock when you came to Australia?
Very much. I would say, like the first day I was in South Sydney. Actually, I was here in a motel.
Motel, yep.
Yeah, but 2017, I think January 7th, I arrived in Sydney airport, and one of our parishioners, Tony Peter, he picked me from the airport, and first morning thing for me, a breakfast is croissant and a roast chicken.
Yep.
I never had croissant in my life.
Yep.
Like the bread is for us is a food when we eat sick. Like
Yep.
when you're really sick, when you cannot have a solid food, that's the
Yeah.
only time you eat bread.
Yep.
And we never roast the chicken at all. For us, it's always a chicken curry or fried chicken or
Yep.
all this Indian thing. And I like as a person from a culture, we respect the food.
Yep.
Whatever served in front of you,
You eat.
you eat because you respect, you value that food, and also you value the people, those who give to you.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know what to do, whether I have to eat or not. I was like, had a cup of water. I was just kind of, put in my mouth and drinking water, eat little bit, drink water. So I was like that. That's the first thing for me, because every morning we have different food. And as a fisherman, I cannot eat something without fish.
Okay.
Like at least I should have something like a fish. Like morning I eat fish, afternoon fish,
Really?
seafood.
That much fish?
Oh, 4 times. I eat 4 times only fish. Like fish curry, rice, fish curry, fried fish, or a prawn or squid, something like that. So fish. And I always say most of the people here, I hate vegetables like anything, like zero veggie till year 12. And seminary, they forced us to eat vegetables because fish is expensive for the area where they don't have a sea.
Yeah.
So that's the time, since I was in the seminaries, I was eating like that. So here, when they give this kind of food, I was starving for rice. I was literally starving for rice. And my second, that was the morning. And that morning I went to a kind of a summer schools of evangelization where 300 young people gathered together for a week retreat.
Yep.
And you know that the young culture is very different than the older culture, right? I felt that I was in not in a zoo, I would describe. I was like, what these crazy young people are doing. It's really hard to understand the language first, because I'm not that much good with English. Why? Because I love my mother tongue very much, Tamil. Like I really love, I have that passion for the language that, I write poems, and I do, I do participate in all the debate, all the competitions. So I literally love English very much. Tamil very much.
Gotcha.
At the same time, I hate English like anything. Why? Because I hate British people, those who colonize us or oppress us. As whenever I study my history, I study all those things. What are the bad things they did?
Yep.
Like I really understand that they did heaps of good stuff too. Now they gave a railway system, or they abolished heaps of our kind of a ritual which was bad to our culture. But at the same time they took many things from us, right? Yeah. Because I have that historical mentality and I have a passion for my language. Culture, I hate English like anything. Yeah. So when I came here, now I have to speak English. Yep. And this Aussie people and Aussie English is very different, and they do have Aussie slang, hi mate, and everything like that. I was like, the whole 7 days, I was like, I don't know anyone. I know only one person, Father Ken Parker, who is a founder of the Missionaries of God's Love, and he is also busy with other thing. I don't know even any of the MGL brothers. So this whole 7 days was like, it's like kind of so hard for me. Yep. And the 8th day, I had my holiday for 2 weeks, and one family host me, and they are from YY.
Why?
and the house is close to the sea.
Yep.
And I was like so happy. I was
Yep.
really so happy to stay in their house. And the first thing they asked, "What do you want to eat?" I said, "I
Fish.
really want to eat fish." And then what we took a boat from Waikiki to Palm Beach.
Yep.
And they took me a really good restaurant there where they bought me a bucket chicken. Not a bucket, what do you call prawns? Bucket prawns they bought me
Yeah.
because they said they all enjoy. I was so happy and excited. I took the prawn and had a bite, and I thought, oh no, I don't like it, because we don't eat anything raw. We usually marinate with all the masalas. We keep it outside the sun so that all the masalas is soaked in, and you fry it or you do, you cook well. And my face changed, and this mother noticed that, and she asked me what happened. I explained the way I wanted to eat, and she said, "No problem. You take it to home. We'll cook there." So we took it to the home, and we went to the local shop, I don't know, Cola or IG or something, and we found all that, that master food, spicy mix and everything. We took that one, and I made some nice roast. Prawn roast in the house, and I ate it, and I was so happy that day. And then came back to the seminary in Canberra, and where you have a kind of a 1 month session about what are the cultural shock look like, how you overcome that one. And my another cultural shock is there's a summertime. I understand. I never ever saw someone walk with sandals inside the church. First of all. And women's always wear veils or saris, or they always cover their head in our place. And we never ever, if you are a really small boy, you wear the shorts. Otherwise, you never wear the shorts like that, right? But here, people come with singlets and everything. I was like, what is happening here? What kind of a Catholic church or something like that? So it took heaps of I was always blaming others, why these people are doing, what is happening? Are they crazy? Do they understand what they do? Then it took me at least a year to realize that they do what they normally do. For them, it is very normal. So if they come to my culture, they may going to look at me as what they are doing, why they are doing, they shouldn't do like that one. So same thing's happening. So I'm not going to I'm not going to change myself, because I value what I learned from my culture. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to find a balance point here, because I know that my culture has a really good things as well as some of the bad things. I'm going to take that good things, and this culture has a really good nice things, the way they greet each other, when they say the smile in their face, or all the small things what they do. So I'm going to put together, so that I'm going to find the middle point. So that's helped me to overcome the cultural shock. And what happened when I went back after 3 years? I was staying after, I went back to 2009. I went back to India for my holidays, because we were allowed only once in 3 years we travel because of a visa reason. When I went back to India, I felt India is so different, culture shock. Here I was at that point, I was started to driving here in Australia. When I went back, I was driving my motorbike. I never ever touched my horn button. But all the others, no indicator, no horn, no rules, right? I felt, these people are crazy, what they are doing. Then I realized that this is the same thing I had. This is the same feeling I had when I was in Australia. So that's the way I process my cultural shock.
No, absolutely. All right. Well, we've done over 2 hours.
Oh.
It's been really good. So I guess unless there's anything else you want to talk about, or anything you want to ask me, otherwise we can probably pack it up.
You said, I really before we started this podcast, you said that you wanted to do this podcast because you wanted to you wanted to record the memories or share the stories, right? So far you might have did too many, as you said, you might have done more than 40 podcasts and everything. What is the one thing you have learned over this the whole podcast? Now, one thing I would say, it may be you may start with a particular vision, right? You may have a vision to start, so something make you to kick, and still now you're doing this one. What is the one thing is keep on motivating you to do this?
It's It's a good question. Look, I really enjoy the conversation, and I think if you know, in the things that are shared, that if one person takes away something good from it, then that's already worthwhile for me. Right. So I think, you know, selfishly, right? Like I want there to be something for my kids one day to be able to listen to if they wanted to know more about who I was as a person when they were young. And, you know, like I think as kids, you know, when I think back on my parents as when I was a kid, I didn't really understand who they were as people, right? I knew that, you know, my parents would work and that's what they did, but I didn't really know, I don't really feel like I knew them as individuals, right? And so, you know, when my kids are older, like I might not be at the same stage in life. I might be doing something different. I don't know, right? But I want there to be something for them to be able to go back and listen to get a better sense of who I was. So selfishly, I would say that was the original reason, one of the original reasons for me to start this whole thing. I guess, you know, aside from that, yeah, like when I really enjoy having these conversations because I think, at what point do you ever lock yourself in a room for 2 hours and just talk to one person? Right? A lot of the times when we have conversations, it might be like, you know, we're at a party or something like that, or like a gathering or a church, or you name a place. Yeah, you can have a conversation. But the conversation is just very like high level. You know, you're not even scratching the surface. Like, you know, and then, you know, I can lock somebody down for 2 hours and get straight into something that's like, you know, pretty deep and heavy. And sometimes it goes too deep and heavy and I got to go, oh, okay, we better pull it back a little bit because otherwise we're just going to be depressed for the rest of this, right? But I really enjoy that. I think, you know, I would credit podcasts as being one of the things that have really changed my outlook on life. I feel like it's really opened up a lot of perspectives for me when I've listened to other people's podcasts. And I think it's also allowed me to challenge my own thinking, right? So I used podcasts to obviously improve myself from that perspective of garnering different perspectives. And, you know, as you said, you know, taking the things that are good and then trying to learn how do you apply those things, right? And I think the other thing is that with podcasts, because you're not invested in the conversation, you know, so even though I'm doing these conversations myself, when I listen to other people's podcasts, I have no skin in the game. You know, they could say something totally offensive, but why do I need to get upset about it? I don't need to because I'm not involved in the conversation, right? But I get to listen to how did they come to that conclusion, right? And so, you know, an example I would give is that I did a podcast with Scott, who was a former Liberal candidate for the area. And we have like two totally opposite views in terms of drugs, right? But, you know, there are circumstances that I would say are fairly similar in terms of, you know, things that have happened in our lives. But we both come to totally different conclusions in terms of, you know, what we think is the right approach, right? And I'm not saying his approach is wrong, and I'm not saying my approach is right. But I think it's interesting that, you know, even though we could have had similar experiences of something that's happened in our life, that we could have two very different conclusions as a result of that. And I like that. I think that there's merit in being able to discuss those things. I think, you know, if we can't discuss those things openly, it's like if religion isn't open and transparent, right, then you're going to have less people wanting to engage in religion. Right? The more open and transparent things are, the higher the engagement rate. You know, I see that in business, you know, from that perspective of when I engage people in the workforce, the more transparent I am with them, the higher the likelihood I'm going to get transparency back from them. Right? So likewise, you know, I've sort of gotten to this point in my life where I'm very open with, you know, a lot of things that I've gone through in my life. And I think part of that would have started as a means of, you know, I have this mentality that, you know, things that are painful for you, you know, if you wear it as your armor, then it can't hurt you anymore. Right? So if I have to shy away from it, then it's still hurting me on the inside. But if I've come to peace with it, then it can't hurt me anymore because it can only hurt me as much as I hurt myself. Right? I'm going to be my harshest critic. I'm going to be the most, you know, when I go to sleep at night, I'm going to be the one that's beating myself up, not the other person. You know, I'm going to be lying there, you know, with my own mind, you know, beating myself up over something that's happened. So I need to be able to come to terms with those things and be at peace with those decisions or those outcomes, so that then I can then make more informed decisions the next time around, right? So that's how I look at it. I look at it as how do I improve as a human,
Yep.
right? So, if there's, I can't really say that there's, I don't want to say that there's one thing that I've learned over those episodes. What I would say is that it's a refining process.
Yeah, that's great.
That if there's one thing I've learned is that every conversation that I have, I can take something away from that,
right?
And I can refine my perspective, and I like to use that to challenge my perspectives, because, I don't profess to be right about anything that I say. All I profess to say is that I think about it, and I think about it a lot before I actually come to the conclusions that I might have. But my conclusions are only hypotheses, right? Like I'm guessing. Right, and that's one lens to apply to it. And if I get another perspective and another lens to now look at it and go, hey, perhaps there's another way I should look at this, then I'm going to try and look at a way. How do I incorporate both?
Yeah,
right. Because at the end of the day, almost everything in life is subjective, right? It's your viewpoint, your perspective, your combination of experiences. How do I now piece those together to effectively communicate to other people, right? Because that's the key in any sort of pursuit, right? Like if you want to be able to encourage people towards a better pathway, then the goal is to provide better information.
Yep.
Right? Not to say, I really don't think the answer is to say, well, don't expose them to that information, because at the end of the day, if that's what they're interested in, they're going to get that information anyway.
Sure.
So you might as well give them the information as much as they can handle in the raw format. Obviously it needs to be structured and distilled, right? You don't just brain dump it, but if you can then communicate across, what you think your points are and why, I think that's healthy.
Great. Yeah.
And that's what I love about the podcast format. I think, when else can you sit down 2 hours with somebody, really get into the nuts and bolts about how they think and how they come to those conclusions, right? Like I think, that, if I was climbing up that wall the way you were and having the wave smash me on the back, I would be in shock too. I might have even let go of the wall.
Sure, yeah.
Right? Like, how do you respond to that? You can't. The worst thing that's happened to you is the worst thing that's happened to you.
Sure.
Right? It's an individual thing. And that's why I think there's merit in everyone's story, and there's things that we can take away from that. And it's funny because a lot of the times I ask people to come on the podcast, and some people will be like, "No, I'm not interesting." Right? But then it's like, okay, well, first of all, it's whether you're interesting or not, that's not for you to decide.
Yeah.
Right? Like at the end of the day, I'm going to do my best to assist you in getting out those stories that you like. But I always find the best podcasts are when people are there's nothing to hide. Like people are at peace with who they are as a person. And look, sometimes it's a reflection of that. It's a snapshot of that point of where you are in life at that point in time, right? So, there's some podcasts that I've done that are a reflection of where that person is at that point in time. And what I hope is that, one day I can go back and do another podcast when they've gotten to another stage in life, right? Because, those experiences shape your perspectives.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I like.
Great. That's a really great idea. Because when I asked the question, I said that, right? When someone asks, what is the one thing is, about, it's hard because
it's so many things.
Yeah, it's all connected together, and it can go anyway. That's a great journey.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, Viknesh, you're still here for how long?
Still here, like officially. I'm going to finish my mission placement in from Christmas onwards, December 25th. Then I'm going to have my holidays here. As I said, I love Sydney very much because of its beautiful beaches. So I'm finding a holiday place here to stay. So I'm moving back to Melbourne in January 29th to continue my studies again in Melbourne.
Okay. Yep. All right. Cool. Well, in the meantime, if you are in our local area and you want to see Brother Viknesh, you got to come to St. Declan's, right?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Thanks, everyone. See you later.